Hey, that was almost entirely on beat through the whole song. Well done, Redstone. That's not very common. So, welcome. People were asking me how I made this giant redstone music box that I've got. So I figured, well, why not comply and actually give people some instructions, or at least a brief tutorial on exactly how I made it. If you look carefully at this madness that I've got going down here, you may see a couple of patterns. Like how I'm currently zigzagging through the whole thing, because that's just the way it happened to be. But if you look even more carefully, you'll see a sort of zigzaggy pattern of redstone going. I'm gonna explain exactly why. I've got a little workstation set up above here. Alright, so it's not a whole floor, but I ran out of time. I have to build all this by hand, you know. I dug this whole damn thing out by hand, but let's not get into that. It all starts with a lever, or a redstone torch, or a button, or whatever you want, as long as it's a redstone output. I have a lever at the bottom of mine, because I like levers. They go... yeah, like that, they do that. I like that. So the only redstone logic-y thing I have in this whole contraption is the common old NOT gate. This guy. It's a block with a torch on one end, output at the torch end, input at the other end. What these guys do, as you may already know... What these guys do, as you may already know, is invert the signal that they get. So this one's now getting an on signal into it, and it's giving out an off signal. And this one is turning the off signal into an on signal, and so on. The trick here is that every time the redstone current, let's call it, goes through one of these things, there's a slight delay. So I figured I can use that delay, probably, to make some kind of music with the music boxes, instead of, you know, walking on pressure plates or whatever. So the first and only thing I could think of to make that happen, there are actually much better ways to make music with redstone, specifically involving loops and things like that. You can have a small loop and set it to loop a certain number of times, and then you go to another one. It's much more effective, but I'm not good at logic or programming or maths or anything, so the only thing I could think of to do is to hook up a bunch of these guys to each other. And I chose this pattern, exactly like this. Sort of zigzagging across, because that takes up slightly less space on one axis, and I figured that would be... I don't know, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Don't ask why. So this is exactly what I did. Pay attention here, and you'll see that this is pretty much the only thing I've got going in the entire system. It's a bunch of NOT gates that zigzag into each other. The way this is set up, though, means that every other NOT gate's obviously going to be on, and every other one's going to be off, but all the ones that are on are closer to one edge than the others. So that made it very easy for me. I'm very visually oriented, like I said, not good at maths or programming. I am very artful, or whatever the heck you want to call it. I'm very visually oriented, so that made it very easy for me to see that, aha, this is where the output's going to be at any given time. I'm actually going to extend this slightly. There we go. There we go. And then that goes into a NOT gate, and this goes to another... like that. This shape here at the end is because, as you probably know, music boxes, or note blocks, make different sounds depending on what surface they stand on. Which is awesome. I love this sound. If you pitch up the bass kick, it's awesome. Anyway, I wanted the piano sound, so I figured I need to put these on dirt, and for the redstone to properly connect, it needs to be on the same level as the box, so I put another block of dirt in front of it to raise the redstone up. And that's exactly how the whole thing is set up. It's just a bunch of music boxes on top of dirt blocks with little T intersections between the inverters, like this. Even the spaces that don't have a note actually have one of these double block things, like you see here, and there, and there. Because like I said, I'm very visually oriented. I'm used to working with music sequencers. They're very graphic. When you see a bunch of squares where there could potentially be notes. So that's basically how I set the whole thing up. It's basically a big sequencer. Made it easy for me to count, you know, the rhythm of the song and go 1 space 2 3 4 space 5 6 7 space, and just count the number of blocks like this. That's pretty much all there is to it. I went through and tuned everything by ear. Well, not entirely by ear, actually. I did cheat a little bit. I've got this friend here, my Casio SA10 toy keyboard that I've had since I don't know. I think this keyboard's actually older than I am. I think these things stopped being manufactured around the time I was born. But this guy's been with me all along. So I basically just figured out, like I said, I'm kind of musically and artistically oriented, so I just went like that. And then I figured, okay, what was the first note I played? That was that. A fun thing you can do is, since these things start on what is that? That is C, D, E, F, G. It's G flat or F sharp or whatever. C, D, E, F. Yeah, F sharp. You can count, if you have a keyboard, how many keys there is between A sharp and whatever you want to play. So I want to play E there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so on. So now, since there's a delay between each of these inverters, and I've got these set up one per every other inverter, then that's going to play a jaunty tune if I tuned it correctly and I turn on. Which I haven't, but you can see the theory. Of course, if I had built this differently, which I should have right away, but I didn't really plan anything out, I could have left enough space to accommodate for chords. Now, as it is now, I wanted to add another instrument. I would have had to build another level, 2 levels in fact, because one of each of these levels is, as it turns out, exactly 1 bar of music. That is a funny coincidence. But if I'd planned out beforehand, I could have made space at each extra inverter like this, or each other inverter, to have 2 of these boxes. And then I could say, hey Casio, give me a chord. That's a nice one. That's even easier to make. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's going to give me a chord now though when I turn on. Lovely. That's all. That's exactly all there is to it. I'll let you look at this pattern again. It's just a zigzag. Take a bunch of inverters, stick them one after the other. The ones that are currently bright are the ones that are going to connect to the music boxes, so you know exactly which ones to do. And if you're visually oriented like me, just count the spaces between each block to figure out the rhythm of the song, and then find a keyboard or whatever and go. That's not going to sound good, but you get my point. Ah, that's beautiful! I'm so proud. Alright, let's take the switch with us. This lever. And give it one more shot for the road. And there goes the redstone offbeat again. Man, playing this by hand takes so long. Anyway, that's how I did it. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your future musical stuff or Minecraftiness or whatever. Don't ask me how I thought this would make a good outro. I have no idea.